Well, hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are canning and preparing bread and butter pickles and dill relish. I do believe the bread and butter pickles are up first, so we are going to, you kind of prepare your cucumbers the same way. These are cucumbers that I grew out of my garden this past summer. I filmed this video this past summer, but if you know how canning and dealing with a garden works, then you understand that it is a lot of work. And so to manage that, to work full time, and then also to edit a video like this just takes quite a bit of time. That is the reason why I am doing the video now that it's wintertime, because I don't have the garden and I have the time to be able to edit these videos. So what I'm doing here is I measured out about 6 pounds of cucumbers, and I'm putting about 1/3 of a cup of pickling salt in there. You can put onions in your bread and butter pickles. Again, I do not. If you're going to use this specific recipe, you want to put about 2 pounds of onions in your bread and butter pickles. I am also, the little green bowl that you see on the screen, I am also preparing that for the dill relish. And it goes based upon the same process where you're going to, I don't have 8 pounds of cucumbers there making that relish, but I'm going to give you my granny's recipe as to what she wrote down. If you guys watched any of my canning videos or cooking videos in general, you know that I don't follow a recipe, okay? So, if you're doing the dill, which is in that green bowl, you're going to do 8 pounds of cucumbers. You're going to do 1 pound of onions if you want to use onions, and then you're going to use about 1/2 cup of pickling salt, as you seen me do just a second ago. I don't know how everybody else makes their bread and butter pickles, but my granny's notes over here says I'm supposed to put the pickling salt on there for the bread and butter pickles. I'm supposed to put the ice cubes over the top of those bread and butter pickles, and then I'm supposed to put that into the refrigerator overnight. The dill, the green bowl, the dill relish, you don't have to do that overnight. You just put the ice in there, and you're going to let it hang out, for a little bit. I would say I would give it, a couple hours, and then you can take the ice off and begin doing what you're doing there, or begin canning it. As you can see, overnight I have taken the bread and butter pickles out of the ice. I have drained them. I didn't drain them. That's a lie. I just left it the way it was, took the ice out, and I am mixing up the ingredients that go inside the bread and butter pickles to make them like bread and butter pickles, And that is, we got sugar. No, I think that's turmeric in there that I'm working with. So you have, how much turmeric does this recipe say? I think it's 2 teaspoons of turmeric. You have about 2 tablespoons of mustard seed, 1 tablespoon of celery seeds, 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Corns, you're going to do about 2 teaspoons of coriander seeds and 1/2 of a teaspoon of ground cloves. That might have been 2 tablespoons I put in there of the turmeric, or 2 teaspoons. You're also going to need about 3 cups of vinegar, and you're going to need about 4 cups of sugar. And I'm going to put this into a big old pot. Therein goes the vinegar, and you're going to see me measure out the sugar. It looks like for 6 pounds of cucumbers, you're going to need about 4 cups of sugar. You are going to bring that up to a boil. You're going to put it on the stove, bring it up to a boil. It's surprising to me the amount of this turmeric paste powder stuff that you use as compared to the amount of pickles that you pickle. Here I am putting in the ingredients. As you can see, I'm not measuring anything out. The only thing I measured out was that turmeric because I needed to make that paste with a little bit of water in there, I think. So you're going to bring the liquid up to a boil, okay? You're going to drop all of your cucumbers in there, and then you're going to bring it back up to a boil and then let it boil for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then you're going to remove it from the heat. I'm not one that's a big bread and butter pickle fan, but my husband is. So here I am. I'm just getting this all down there in that good, nice, juicy liquid, which I technically think is called a brine. And you guys can also refer to the ball recipes for these. I think a lot of these recipes that my grandma has wrote down are recipes just tweaked a little bit from the ball catalog. Again, the important thing that you're looking for whenever you're canning these items is that you preserve them in the way in which you're supposed to. So as you can see here, I am throwing these are 2 quarts that I got there. And I'm putting about a teaspoon in every single quart. That pickling, fresh or whatever that is going to help keep your pickles a little bit crisper. It doesn't matter to my husband whether or not they're really crisp or they're soft. So, I mean, he doesn't care. But in order to make sure they're preserved correctly, I do go ahead and put that in there, as well as the salt that I use for the recipe. You have here, what you're going to want to do is, I tend to, on all of my recipes, only fill my jars up to about a 1/2 inch headspace. That's just what I feel comfortable with. She does have a note here that back in 1925, she started writing these recipes out when she was about 16 years old. So she does say you only need a 1/4 of a headspace, but in this video, I am leaving a 1/2 inch headspace. And I am putting the pickles in the jar with a slotted spoon to drain the liquid. And then I'm going to go through after I've packed these jars, and I'm going to fill it up with the liquid to that 1/2 inch headspace. Again, whenever you're canning, you want to make sure you're referring to the, ball books and recipes, because they're going to give you the most accurate information. I am a rebel, okay? So I just can, as long as I know that I have the amount of preserving salt or citric acid or lemon juice or the things that I need when I'm water bath canning, I really don't worry about the rest. I just, whenever I'm cooking, I just cook to the way that I like it. I leave that 1/2 inch headspace. You can see it in this video that I'm not filling it up to that fourth of an inch. I don't like when you're canning something, you might get a little bit of some seepage, and I don't like that. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And you're going to see here in a second, I'm going to take that liquid and I'm going to bring it over the top of the jar, because you want your liquid to come up to that 1/2 inch headspace. Pickles, but bread and butter pickles will get water bath canned, and they're going to need to be processed for about 10 minutes. That's if you're doing pints, I do believe. But in this case, I do believe I can these for 15 minutes after it reaches a boil. I will try to link you guys a recipe in the description to go and follow. That is from the Ball Handbook or from the American Canning Society or whatever it is, the CDC guidelines or whatever it is, to follow. But, I know there's people out there that are scared to death of like botulism and stuff like that. I have a scientific brain, and I have taken a lot of science classes, and I know without fail that botulism cannot grow in anything that has a pH level of less than 4.6. So as long as you use the preservation ingredients that you need, salt, sugar, salt, sugar, vinegar, lime juice, lemon juice, citric acid that you're supposed to use, which is in about every single recipe that you use when you're talking about water bath canning. Pressure canning is a little bit different, and I will be uploading, I think, a pressure canning video after this one. I'm just going to have a whole playlist, a canning playlist or a garden playlist, combination of the two, and we will, just follow that recipe. Or we'll just go over all the pressure canning, stuff in the pressure canning video, you know what I'm saying? So, but again, I will link down a proper canning recipe for you guys to follow if canning makes you nervous. I'm not scared at all. I don't know why I think I am taking this out of this pint jar and putting it in a wide mouth jar because I'm putting this one directly in the refrigerator for my husband. And that's the other thing with pickles is that you don't necessarily even have to can them. You can make up 2 or 3 jars and put them in your refrigerator, and it will be just fine in there for several months. The vinegar itself will preserve that and keep those crisp. The only reason why your pickles even get a little bit soft is because you are putting them in a water bath canner and it's cooking them. You by all means could turn either one of these recipes into refrigerator pickles, refrigerator relish. You can just cook up, just follow the recipe and just don't can it and put it in your refrigerator if you want to, and it will stay good for several months, and probably longer than that. It will probably be, 6 months, maybe 4, 5, 6 months. But you'll know when you open stuff that you put in the refrigerator, or if you put it like even on the shelf, when you go to open that jar, you will smell if it's bad. Like you'll be able to smell that. So here I am working on that dill relish that I'm working on. This clip is a little bit backwards, but I was canning both of these at the same time. So some of the clips I wanted to show you in the beginning, and this technically I should have showed you in the beginning when I first started talking about relish, but I didn't. So here we are. I chopped up all of these pickles, and I put some pickling salt over the top of it. And again, I set that aside, but I ultimately did, because I think I, chopped all these pickles up first and then sliced the other ones. But I did, put the ice on these as well and then set it to the side. And so what I'm doing here is I am getting the brine ready, which is a 1/2 cup of salt, 1/3 cup of vinegar. Oh, no. I am doing that. So it is a 1/3 cup of sugar, a 1/2 cup of salt, 2 tablespoons of turmeric, 2 tablespoons of dill weed. If you like your stuff a little bit more on the dill side, you can add more dill, and 1 quart of vinegar, and that is going to go for 8 pounds of cucumbers. You could also put an onion in here as well if you're an onion person. I personally have an allergy to the onions, so I can't use them because then I feel not great. So then what I am going to do is I'm going to put that on the stove. What is that I just put in there? Oh, I put both powdered dill weed in there, and then also like dill weed straight out of my garden. And the same process applies here. You're going to bring that up to a boil. You're going to put your ingredients in there, and then you are going to boil it for about, bring it to a boil and then simmer for about 10 minutes. And then you, again, will also leave, she says, 1/4 inch of headspace. I may have done 1/4 inch of headspace when it comes to this relish because they're in really small jars, I think. Did I put them in jars or did I put them in 1/2 pints? Looks like I put them in pints. That's what it looks like to me. Like I said, friends, this video was recorded 5 months ago, and I'm just now coming back to it. So you will water bath can these for 15 minutes. And again, if any of that information is wrong, I will have linked both recipes for the dill relish and the bread and butter pickles in the description bar below, so you have actually something to follow. I tend to not follow recipes, friends. I tend to just cook. I get it to where I like the taste of it, and then I follow the instructions as far as canning goes, which is, you know, again, I am hot packing. I mean, I'm not, well, I mean, technically this is hot packing, but I am going to make sure that the brine comes up to that top little rim there. So the recipe says you can do it to 1/4 of an inch headspace, and you of course need to debubble everything. I usually debubble everything that I'm working on when I go to can, and then you are going to make sure you're checking the rims of those jars to make sure you don't feel any cracks or anything, because if you got a crack in your jar, it is going to be not pleasant. Your seal won't seal. And again, you want to make sure that you're sterilizing your jars before you start. I usually do mine in the dishwasher on the sterilization setting. And then I always use new lids, new canning lids, because I'm not that big of a rebel. I mean, I'm a rebel, but I'm not that big of a rebel. And I know there's a lot of people out there that reuse lids, and my grandma reused lids too. She didn't never get botulism, and you know, usually in foods like this, and pickles and jellies, botulism can't even grow. But I always then will take distilled white vinegar, and I will clean the rim of the jar, and then I will put that lid on there, and then we'll water bath can them. And also you just want to tighten that down to like just finger. It looks like I'm really putting pressure on them jars, but I'm not. It does look like I'm tightening those down pretty good, but I'm not. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. We'll see you guys next time. Happy canning.